Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Green Factor, a show where we talk about green design and the business of sustainability. I'm your host, Haris the Green Carpenter, and today we'll be talking about sustainable development on a grand scale. With me today, we have Razif from Sime Darby. He's
Hi.
the head of security and sustainability in Sime Darby Property, and we are glad to have you here, Razif. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Haris.
So I think just to give a little context to the audience, me and Razif have been working with several sustainability awareness and projects in the past, and I feel like I want to learn more from you in terms of what you guys do as well, because you guys have like a huge impact to the country. So I feel like there's a lot of things that you guys are doing right now is beneficial to share with other people as well. So thank you very much again, Azif. But before we go into our topic, for the benefits of our audience, can you just share a little bit about what you do and your journey so far?
Okay. First of all, Haris, thanks for inviting me to the show. I think I was very impressed when I visited your factory. Do you know such factory which is so environmentally friendly exists in Malaysia? So well done for that, and thank you for inviting me. A bit about myself. I come from an oil and gas background, so all the problem that you see in the globe now is largely due to fossil fuel. 25 years with Shell, and my corporate experience, 32 years corporate experience. Uh, Half of my career is in health and safety, about 18 years. And my specialty when it comes to safety is how do I help the leadership to reduce fatalities, as you can see the numbers there. So in your poster, you wrote that I'm a sustainability expert. So let me debunk that myth. If you look at the icon on the right hand side, my sustainability experience is only two years. So I'm very new in it. But to say that I'm totally new in sustainability is also not right. It's something that companies have been taking seriously for the past two decades or so. Worked in a few countries. I think that's where it gave me a lot of good exposure, understanding other cultures, and done a bit of things here and there, including engineering and operations. Over to you, Haris.
So I think it's not an overstatement, because as we know, there's a lot of element of sustainability that people not really relates to it. For example, like
Mm.
efficiency is part of sustainability, health and safety is also part of sustainability. So you have at least 18 years clock in that division, which is a very huge part of sustainability. So that's why, like for me, the vast experience you have, also being having an international exposure, helps in what you're doing. And I think that's why Sam maybe choose you as well to head this. So don't see it as you're new. You have so much things that you can contribute, and we want to learn from you. So I think let's talk about the topic right now, because Sandabi, as you know, we uh, we have a lot of reliance on on Sandabi in terms of our country growth and all that. So we don't want to go into what everything you guys are doing, but we want to talk more on in terms of the sustainability part of the business. So can you just share a
Yep.
little bit about that?
Yeah, I think for I'll give a bit of context. When it comes to Sime Darby, it has actually three entities. Yeah, if you look at the right hand side, the three entities are plantation, property, and industrial motors, healthcare. So I'm in the our company is in that yellow highlighted one, Sime Darby property. And you are right. I think the impact to the country, Sime Darby property has brought, for example, it brought Subang Jaya, which is the first real large township, and since then, Sime Darby property has been moving from one one large township to another. So true, we do have an impact on the country. What are we doing in the sustainability space? Um, if you ask any large company what they are doing, it would be a whole day pun tak habis because there are so many things that companies are doing. Credit to every company that takes sustainability seriously. So for us, sustainability, when if you look at our aspiration, right? Bila I talk to people in the company and travel the country, everybody macam they have that sincere intent to be a force for good. They don't care whether you're Indonesian or Bangladeshi. Number one, you must go home safely to your family at the end of the day. Second, we must reduce our carbon footprint. And as you know, our industry has a huge carbon footprint. Third is, can we increase and make the planet healthier through biodiversity? And fourth is our communities. So we got two key communities. I'll share a bit later. Township communities and B40. Uh, and all of these revolve around, if you look at the second red box in the middle, is around how do we help to improve people's lives, businesses, economies, and the planet. To your question, what we are doing, so for safety, we have multiple initiatives, making sure that people are safe. But if you can see bottom left-hand corner, one of the KPI for the top leadership is to turun padang. They have to turun padang and engage the workers, understand what are the safety issues on the ground. The attendees for our program, if you look at the top right-hand corner, is 75,000 attendees. So that's a lot of people, and we win a few awards along the way. In terms of safety is part of sustainability, but let's take out safety. Just the sustainability without safety, these are some of our key initiatives. One is we dare to experiment. We put a little bit of money aside, say that Razif, go and test out and see if we use this gadget on our excavator, can we reduce fuel consumption or not? So that was an experiment. So we have a little bit of data to understand that, okay, we can reduce fuel using technology. If you look at the excavator, kat belakang tu ada dua batang tu. So that two things are actually GPS sensor, and they're not cheap to begin with. If you look at the third icon, the embodied carbon baseline report, we commissioned a study for us to understand. Okay, we produce 3,000 homes a year. How much carbon does each of our home emit? Be it cement, steel, the transportation to get the bricks to the construction site. So we sort of have a starting number of 83 tons, and going forward, how do we reduce 83 tons to a certain number? But that doesn't mean that we sit on our laurels and just let and things business as usual. We've started 8 of our projects to use green cement. We have 70 projects, so there's still a lot of opportunities for us to improve on. You can see a few of the other things, but if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, it's a bit exciting on this biodiversity baseline. We looked at Singapore and adapted their Singapore Biodiversity Index baseline and adapted it for our use. And now we at least know we have 161 bird species and counting. The other piece that we take very seriously is about our communities. We have township communities, fence line community, the B40 communities in fence line, and these are some of the key initiatives. One is around how do we improve people's knowledge around sustainability, and you can see that bird watching activity is one of them. Actually, we have a lot. I'm just putting a photograph to as illustration. The middle one is the competition across schools in Malaysia. How does a good sustainability house in 2030 looks like? And the winner was they used timber to a model timber house, which is a lot more user friendly than cement and mortar that we use now. What I'm excited is the in development for B40, where we want to fully sponsor people working in the hospitality industry or construction, and it doesn't matter whether they work for us when they graduate or they work for others. It does not matter. One of the KPI for this is after 6 months, you must get a job. So there's pressure on us. You graduate, not bye bye. You're on your own. We also make sure that you get a job. There's a few issues and challenges, but I'll wait. I'll share that a bit later. Over to you, Haris.
I know if you want to go one by one, it's not enough one session. But I thank you for the brief summary. I think what's next is actually like why is it important to you guys? Because there's a lot of companies, of course, they have pressure from stakeholder and all that. That some of them result to even greenwashing and just doing the bare minimum. But what makes you? Why is it important to you guys? This
Yep.
sustainability. Why are you guys pushing and pushing it?
Okay, we are our industry is not like plantations, right? Where we export our goods, where a plantation export their goods to, or glove industry export their goods to the US, and if you don't follow certain sustainability rules, be it especially human rights, you don't get to send your products overseas. For us, we don't wait for those kind of pressure to come to Sime Darby Property. We believe we need to start now. So we like I mentioned earlier, when I talk to the people in the company, that force for good is a very powerful DNA in the company. Dia betul-betul they want to do it now. For example, why should I do a study on how much carbon emission from a home? Nobody is pressuring me, right? We are selling our house quite well. If you can look at our track record in the internet, right? People buy our house because we have a strong brand. But we do believe in our purpose, which is for how do we improve the wellness of people, wellness and livelihood of people. How do we improve businesses and economies? How do we leave a positive footprint on the planet? So to your question, why do we take sustainability seriously? There is a sincere intent for us, because whenever we wake up in the morning, we think we can contribute. We call it the value multiplying. We think we can contribute towards betterment of people, people, business, economies, and also the betterment of the planet. The that DNA. So when you discuss, for example, when you discuss business presentation, you can sense that. Hey, when we make our product, can we make it a bit greener? What are the things out there in the market that we can use right now, right? We also don't use a NASA NASA product and then go out of business, right? Because they are so expensive. We are also a business per se. But what's important, we have that discussion. We You need to present that, hey, the product you are using has all these green elements, and those are all approved at the highest level. So there's a whole system that define our behavior, and a bit of compliance towards producing products which are green.
Understand. So it makes not just ethical sense, but I'm seeing it more of a business sense as well. So that's why I think this is where the trend is. It's helping out as well. Like, of course, we want to do it at the intention of our heart and what we believe, but right now there is the demand as well, so it helps with a lot of other process as well. So in terms of why it's important and for the company and the long run, what are the challenge? Because I would see there will be a lot of pushback and resistance. So how what is it, and how can you share a little bit of it? Of course,
Yep.
there's a lot, the main ones.
Okay. Our biggest challenge, Haris, is working with the board, right? Even the board is involved in the conversation of this challenge. It's our carbon footprint. Yeah, we build 3,000 homes a year. That is not a small number, right? We build so many factories in a year. Our malls, our golf club, all produce CO2, emit CO2. Our main challenge is how do we reduce our carbon footprint? So when we look at it, all right, initially we were only talking about fuel and electricity. Then after about 8-9 months, alamak macam senang je, right? Carbon footprint. Then as we mature, we realize that our biggest challenge is what we call upfront carbon. So when we produce a home, there's actually upfront carbon: the cement, steel, aluminium, glass, your foundation, your roof. That's where we get the 83 tons of carbon emitted per home. Hey, you multiply that by 3,000 homes, and 250,000 tons of CO2 equivalent. So the challenge is working with our consultants. We have even manufacturers. We went to YTL Cement. We look at steel manufacturer, reinforcement steel manufacturer. We talked to Arup, a huge consultant, and where how can we reduce the carbon footprint of our supply chain. So we went out there and say, okay, can I survey my supply chain and ask them how, where they are in terms of sustainability in their management system. I think we went out to 180, no, 180 responded. We went out to 500, 180 responded. And 90% of them do not have a holistic management system on sustainability. So that's, while others say, teruknya, for me, no. That shows reality, and it's also an opportunity for us to work with our supply chain going forward. When you say challenges, there's also opportunity, kan? So behind that is the huge land that we have, right? That's where biodiversity came in. And I can remember it was a very simple justification paper. I went to management. I need an ecologist, and it came down within a day. There was no argument about it. So we have a full-time ecologist to to first educate us about biodiversity and how we can increase biodiversity in our township. Our second biggest challenge is safety. Construction is very high risk. People can get hurt or killed. And how do we make sure we have systems in place to make sure the babus of the world go home safely to their families?
Awesome, awesome. I think, like, of course, in a way, sustainability for you guys is not a destination; it's a journey. So it's a process where it's an ever evolving and ever you need to always look into it. So
Exactly.
the next question is more on because it relates to challenge, especially we're dealing with people, right? And then a lot of people. Like for me, my company is 45 people, so I did this 45. For you guys, it's like what? How many thousand? What is the latest count? Under property, how many?
1,300.
This is under property only, right?
Only
Or group?
property. So we
Okay.
have 1,300 employees or so, right? And a number of vendors as well. So to your
So how do you
question,
get them
mm,
their buy-ins? Like for me, it's like how
okay.
do you get these so many people buy-in?
Yeah.
Down and up,
Actually,
eh?
1,000.
Not just
Yeah.
up.
1,300 is not that many lah. I mean, compared to Shell, I used to work for. When I was at group level, right? How do I get 100,000 people? So 1,003 is manageable lah, which is fortunate for me. Let me give a pictorial. If you can show my slide, give a pictorial view. I'm an engineer, so I'm a very pictorial person. So the buy-ins are at different levels, right? And be it when I was at group level in an international MNC, the middle management is always the toughest nut to crack. It is not that they are naughty people or anything, but because they have their annual they are under pressure for annual delivery, be it oil production, be it building a home. I can see that the middle management mindset is always under pressure to deliver that. So how do you make sure that you have all this aspiration at the top? Top memang senang, right? They buy in very, very easily, right? They get it, they understand the big picture. And then once you start to cascade down, the middle management needs a little bit more convincing. To do that convincing, you can do, if you look at the top of the slide, you can do campaigns, you can do training, you can do engagements. But as long as you don't practice it day to day, you don't buy in. So what the Sime Darby property has is an annual playbook. It has in 2022, it has 29 items on sustainability that we expect you to complete, do. And all the 29 items goes back to the top management. So as you do it over and over again, you then it gets into your DNA, and therefore you get your buy-in. I think it's very difficult to get a buy-in when you're holding a mic and you're talking to them, and then they go back to work and totally forget about what you say if you don't have a system to build it into DNA. So I have found the playbook for a company that's about our size a very it's not only the playbook, I mean any management system. As long as you have a system to manage, you change people's behavior, people get used to doing it, and therefore it gets into their DNA. So I'm not there to hold a mic and say, hey, can you do you buy in or not? That's very difficult. But the system has helped Sime Darby Property to embed that sustainability thinking into our staff. And you are right. It's still a journey. To say that has everyone got it? No, the front line is still a challenge. But through the playbook, at least the middle management, the toughest nut to crack, we've sort of cracked it. They get it now. We can see the way products are designed now. Sustainability elements are taken into account. And therefore, it's an easier work for me in 2023 to work with the rest of the organization. So that's how I secure buy-in.
Understand. So in a way, what I'm seeing is like you identify which one you need the most or the most critical, and then you create a guide or playbook, and at the same time you go down and
Correct.
hold as well until it can run on its own. Interesting. So I think
Actually, that's
because
an
this is
interesting
where
point when you it's interesting that you say about go down, right? Going down to the Padang. So we had the top 400 management meeting the other day, and one of them actually say to HQ team. It was an advice to the HQ team. Hey guys, you guys have all these programs, but we in the front line do not know about it, right? And going down to the Padang is really, really important. So you can have a system, but you don't go down to the Padang, people will not deliver as well. So it's a combination of the human part and a system will make buy-ins more successfully, and buy-in stick for their day-to-day practices and operations.
so it's a clear there's a clear direction and also effort put into it. So yeah,
Correct.
I think that's why a lot of people sometimes the issue is like managing up and down. So sometimes they're in the middle also, they need to learn how to manage up and get back in from the top, and then
That's
also
correct.
managing bottom. So I think it's a good guide for people to implement as well lah. So the next
Yep.
question would be more on the opportunities. So what do you see the opportunities in this space in terms of you guys as well, and also other companies that also want to serve Sime Darby or be part of the initiative?
So what are our challenges, right? So our challenge, before I go to opportunities, and what are our challenges? One is we want to reduce our electricity usage. Fuel is not a large part of our operational carbon, but our contractors in scope 3, yes. So for scope 1 and scope 2, if there are solutions out there, mesti cheap, not economical for us to adopt, we are more than open to hear solutions. And I have on my whiteboard in the office here, right, the number of proposals that are waiting for people to present to us on solutions. So we are open to listening to people, listening to entities, any help that we can to reduce our scope 1 and scope 2. Scope 3, our biggest challenge is how do we reduce our material usage. So if you can think of, we have our house, can we make the house lighter? Go on a diet a little bit. Why is it important? So when we go on a diet, when we reduce the weight of the house, we reduce our foundation. We reduce the use of cement. You reduce the use of cement, reduce the use of steel, the carbon emission goes down. So ways, if you can help us to figure out how can we make our house, the engineering term for that is leaner structure, for our structure to be leaner. Second is, how do we one linear structure? So the second one is how do we ensure what are the alternative low carbon materials out there that we can use nearly immediately. All right. So for example, green cement has been around for 15 years. Very easy, we adopt and we're learning. And it's not as green as what we thought it is when we run the number je green cement, but it is still can reduce by 20%, is still better than 100% carbon emission. So what are the alternative carbon material? We even looking at, your steel bar tu yang, we're looking at can we use glass reinforcement bar or not to replace the non-critical locations, right? So if the guys out there, you have an alternative low carbon material when we make our homes, our infrastructure, we are more than open to hear you. The other solution we're looking at is digital. Are there opportunity where by using digital platform, we get our data more efficiently, we can process data more efficiently, etc. Going a little bit step ahead is, are there alternative low carbon material that are really unique, right? For example, timber. Right? So timber ni orang takut nak pakai, because bakar lah, etc. Right? But all of us are, at least the top management here, are getting more and more educated on the opportunity around timber. Nanti you will think, you potong pokok semua, that's not environmentally friendly. No, I cannot narrate it so well. I'm also learning. It is comparing cement and potong pokok, regenerate the forest. It's actually very very healthy cycle. Janganlah potong semua pokok, right? So it's a very so using wood and timber in construction is very good for the planet. It's a tough hill to climb, but we are having conversations on how timber can be part and a mix of what we want to do. Early stages, I don't think we can see any result 23, 24, but we are very keen to learn. We are an organization that very keen to learn on timber and its opportunities. The other opportunity is in safety is everybody to go home safely, right? And we are looking at, can we pre-design everything safely when they start building? For example, platform, katalah dia kerja, dia terjatuh, there's a platform to catch them. Can we pre-design all of this at the start? And we're working with Dosh, we're working with a few parties to make sure that when we build homes, even simple pun, kita tak nak orang jatuh. Kalau jatuh pun, it is a safe place to work. So I hope that gives you a little bit of our early thinking on opportunities, Haris.
I think I just add a little bit last since you talk about timber, kan? Because this is my territory, kan? Memang betul actually in terms of just to share with audience as well, material as timber as material is one of the, it's a carbon neutral material. What it means is during the process and also making it, there's a lot of less emission or footprint in terms of as a material compared to steel, glass, and several. That's why we are seeing a lot of developed countries right now, because they are moving to carbon neutrality. They are looking at mass timber structure like
Yep.
CLT and various other sources. And contrary to popular belief, these are all tested, and some of them also exceed the fire safety and all that. So there is a lot of
Mm.
research that needs to be done, but there's also a misconception that we need to address as well. So that is in terms of timber, lah. Of course, I can go more on it, but it's one of the important material as well. So thank you as well, Simon, to at least to look into it, because it's a solution that we need to see all angles, right? Okay, so I
Yep.
think opportunities is there, challenges, and you have shared a little bit of what you guys do as well. I think what's next? What is the future of Sandabi in terms of sustainability and also onward?
Our we want to be very active in trying to understand how do we make the planet a better place. Now look at how we build homes, right? Kita build home, kita potong the tanah, the earthwork, right? And yeah, that's correct. You can flash that slide, right? uh, we cut the earth, and then we leave unhealthy soil, etc. And then we wait until 30, 40 years to uh, for things to happen. But we want to be a bit more proactive. How can we regenerate urban biodiversity now, so that 2 decades, 3 decades later, even less than a decade, people can start to benefit. Flora and fauna can be connected from one point to another. The soil becomes healthier. Healthier soil means bigger sequestration of carbon dioxide. So our future plan is don't talk only, do something. So we are working with Tropical Rainforest Conservation Research Center, TRCRC, with our in-house landscape architects and also my ecologists. We are thinking of how can we regenerate a portion of our township for us to learn this is the baseline and how it improve, and we put money behind it, and it's a long term project for us to understand, and hopefully scientists will come, community, they call it scientific community, community scientists or something like that, right? For people to learn on how waterways can improve, fresh air, soil, what kind of birds that will come. So that is the biodiversity space. In the social space, if you look at Project ARC at the bottom, PARC, to Project ARC, um, it's about how we can help society in the future to be more resilient. So we've put aside 7.5 acres of Taman Subang Ria in Subang Jaya, where we want to learn how we can apply principles of circular economy. Can waste, not a single waste go out? Itu aspiration, eh? Cannot a single waste go out from Taman project ARC or not? Can Project Arc be totally energy independent, be it from whatever source, solar or whatever, that it's totally energy independent? Can people go there and learn how to repair things themselves, therefore make them more resilient because they are doing it themselves? There's also wellness activities you can do that. It is not a money making activity. You can see there's no malls or anything there. It is just activities for people to learn about sustainable living, and it's an education place. People can learn about it, and I think we are 80%, 90% construction is completed, and there's a lot of stakeholders involved in getting this to reality, including engaging the community. On the right hand side is moving towards net zero. Towards we are we are we are very careful before we confirm how we are going to chart our way to net zero. You've seen a lot of companies have made announcement and whatnot, but there's a lot of numbers and data that needs a lot more understanding. And we are putting together a pathway for us to go net zero by certain year, aligned to science-based target initiative. So I hope that gives you a bit of a view on our future plans. There are things that we are learning like carbon credit, carbon sink, because we have a lot of land. Um, what are those? We have more questions than answers in those things compared to what you see on this slide. What I'm getting from the company is, hey, do something first, right? Let's put aside money first, and let's experiment. Let's learn what will happen to soil health when we do all this regenerative biodiversity plan. Well, we have more birds. We'll have more fish along that river. So it's what would authorities say? So a lot of moving parts, super exciting, but we are doing stuff to make sure that we live a better planet in the future.
Awesome, 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 okay, Razif. And I think with that, we are at the end of the show. I'm really excited to see what you guys are doing as well, and thank you very much for doing it in a way that is real. Right now, one of the reason I bring you guys
Yeah.
in as well because there's a lot of things or there's a lot of organization that are doing it but not for the right reason. And for me, I feel like you guys are. Of course, there's a lot of things that you can do. Of course, there's always that, but you're doing a lot as well, and we are very thankful with that. And with that, thank you very much, J. Razif, for coming in. Um, for the listeners, if you find this episode helpful, do share it. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a green week ahead. Bye bye, guys.
Thanks, Aris. Bye, guys.